Shakur Stevenson is training with Terence Bud Crawford in Colorado as he gears up for his next fight. There is only one small problem. Nobody wants to see Shakur Stevenson's next fight versus Joe Coronavirus. That's what I want to talk about in this video. Now, Terence Crawford is the big bro of Shakur Stevenson. This is common knowledge for anybody who follows boxing that the two have a brotherhood. Shakur, he never picks against Bud, even says that he thinks Bud could beat Canelo, and he's pushing for things like that. So when I found out that they were training together in Colorado for Shakur's upcoming fight, I was like, all right. My first instinct was like, oh, this is cool. Expected. They've trained and sparred together before. So I was like, all right, pretty cool. But then I started thinking about it, and it actually does nothing. And let me explain. I'm not saying it does nothing for Shakur Stevenson, because of course, working with someone as skilled as Terence Crawford will be great for your development. It doesn't hurt you. That's like a young quarterback spending some time with a Tom Brady. There's just a wealth and a treasure trove of knowledge to work with Tom Brady or one of the Mannings or something, right? So initially I was like, oh, this is cool. But then I thought about it, and it really makes no difference, because here's the thing. Shakur is a talented young fighter, right? This is going to sound crazy. This actually hurts the fight, right? And I'm not saying it facetiously, and I'm not saying that Shakur should not work with Terence Crawford. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is the public didn't ask for this particular fight. You're fighting a guy who's moving up in weight, Joe Coronavirus, right? And not only is he moving up in weight, he's coming directly off of a stoppage loss. Exhibit A, 17-1, not the biggest of punchers, average puncher at best, 52 from the UK, fought mostly domestic level competition. And you see, May 18th, he just fought a guy who was 21-1, and he got cooked in Saudi. He got TKO'd, which is what I said. And it says he was down in the third round. He got hurt in that round. I seen it, right? So this was super featherweight. So at 130 pounds. Now he's fighting Shakur for the WBC lightweight title. And this is part of what makes boxing confusing, because it's the Wild Wild West. So if you're new to the sport of boxing, you surely won't understand this. You'll be like, how is a guy coming off of a loss and fighting Shakur Stevenson for a title? Now, it does happen. Zab Judah lost to Carlos Baldomir, and he still got the Mayweather fight, right? So it does happen. Errol Spence may fight Sebastian Fundora, and his last fight was a loss to, it's kind of a similar situation. Errol Spence, a loss at 47, and he would be moving up to 54, and he might get a title shot. But with the Errol Spence situation, there's a big difference, because Errol Spence is a more renowned and respected name, and it makes business sense and it makes money. In fact, Fundora's team, his own promoter, longtime promoter, Samson Lukowitz, stated that he said a Crawford fight is fine, but we're pursuing the Errol Spence fight because we could pack out a stadium. We could take that to Dallas, and Errol is just bigger business. So he said, we'll make more money by fighting a respected guy. Now, Joe Cordina, he's not really known outside of the UK, and he's not a big brand. So that's why it looks different for Shakur Stevenson. See, when it comes to boxing, I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. I look at all these situations on a case-by-case basis. Some people try to compare and contrast everything, but some things are apples and oranges. Shakur is fighting a guy with no brand coming off of a stoppage loss. So the fact that you're training with Terence Crawford is only probably making the public feel that this is a strong, a good look, and increasing your chances of beating it. Because whether you work with Crawford or not, Shakur would be the favorite over a Joe Cordina who hasn't done anything. Now, Eddie Hearn, he's going to do his part to try to promote his UK boy and, make people feel that Shakur versus Joe Cordina is really going to be some work. But for me, I'm not buying it. I've seen Joe Cordina fight. He has done nothing at 135 pounds. And on top of that, Shakur is a talented fighter and hard to hit. So the fact that he's in there getting lessons and, tutorials and working with a GOAT like Terence Crawford, now I'm giving Joe Cordina even worse chance because Shakur is treating this like any other fight, as he should. So I'm not knocking Shakur for utilizing his lifeline and working with a Terence Crawford. But what I am saying is, in doing so, and it being public, I posted this on my social media, so the cat's out the bag that they're working together, it's only going to increase the odds and, make people believe that Shakur Stevenson definitely beats Joe Cordina even more so than before, right? It's just like, if you already thought Canelo beats Edgar Berlanga, and then there's some sparring that leaks where Berlanga doesn't look good in sparring, now that's not necessarily an indication of what's to happen in the fight. However, most people wouldn't be confident seeing that, especially considering they already didn't think Berlanga could beat Canelo. That's pretty much what I'm saying here. Is Shakur, as is going to be hard to beat for anybody, let alone a guy who's fought domestic level only, coming off a loss, and he's moving up in weight, and he's working with the guy he's fighting is undefeated and a southpaw, and he's trying to sit down on his punches more from the criticism. And in addition to that, he has a defense and ring IQ. Plus, he's working with Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford's probably giving him pointers and stuff like that. So listen, you guys can say whatever you want. I give Joe Cordina very little chance here to beat Shakur Stevenson. In fact, if he beat Shakur, not like, oh, it was a good fight. I'm saying if he beat him, I would actually be rather shocked, because I just don't see Shakur losing to. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be the most exciting or scintillating firefight, but, I keep it real on my channel. I don't see him losing either to a guy that's like a domestic level. You bring up Shakur versus Gervonta Davis, that's a different proposition. I would favor Gervonta Davis over Shakur Stevenson, right? You ask people about Shakur and Devin Haney, maybe they're undecided, but to me, it's just a waste of time. And it's funny to see that Turkey is saying stuff he wants to reduce the pay-per-view cost and like take it down to $15, $20. Listen, people who say that are people who are making very little money on the pay-per-view side of things, meaning they don't have successful pay-per-views like Crawford Madrimov. The reports show that fight lost over $10 million. So it's easy for you to say, hey, we should cut the cost. You don't have a Canelo, you don't have a Gervonta Davis, nor have you worked with them for a Riyadh season, right? So it's easy for you to say, let's just get rid of pay-per-view altogether because you have no pay-per-view stars. But I see the play. That whole let's get rid of pay-per-view thing is fights like this, Shakur and a guy coming off a loss from a lighter division that has no brand in America, fighting at an unusual time for primetime American boxing in Saudi Arabia, the kingdom. It just has no business being on pay-per-view. So I see the play. What they're trying to do is make it look like this is of benefit to the boxing fans. Like, hey, we could have charged you $80 like the competitor, like PBC. But hey, we're only going to charge you $20 for this card. But it still doesn't make sense, because the main event attached to the same bill is Beterbiev and Bivol for Undisputed, an actual meaningful fight at 175 pounds. And it comes inclusive if you have an ESPN Plus subscription, which I do. and I've always had since they came out, and it's far cheaper. Like, I don't even pay $20 for ESPN Plus. That's the fight that I need to see because it actually matters for the division, and David Benavidez says he wants to fight the winner at some point. So that's all hands on deck, must-see TV. Shakur having a showcase fight versus a guy that I know won't beat him, or that's what I feel in my heart. That doesn't belong on pay-per-view anyway. So I see the play. They're trying to make it look like they're giving us some great savings, but realistically, the card's not pay-per-view worthy to begin with, and it should be free TV, or at the very least on the DAZN platform for free. So I said what I said. Shakur working with Terence Crawford, that's great for him as an individual, but it's horrible for the fight because it's just no one is giving Cordina much of a shot at all. And then Shakur having the best camp possible and, you know, bringing in the big guns like Bud is only going to make people feel even more so that the guy that they already thought didn't have a chance at age 32 don't have a chance. You know, given no handicaps, Shakur says he's healthy. Looks like he's having a strong camp with Crawford. So it's going to be a hard sell, which is the point of this video. Let me know what you guys think. You did.